So we are in a four-wheel auto, if you guys are wondering. Just gonna get on it a little bit here. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be going over a 2023 Ford Bronco Wildtrak with the new HOSS Fox shock suspension. I'm so excited to finally be able to test one of these out. Before we get into this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Lurch Mailer, Ford Lincoln here in Provo, Utah, for giving me some time with this Bronco. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for John Jenks. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. So under the hood, we have a turbocharged 2.7 liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 17 around town and then 17 on the highway, with power outputs being about 330 horsepower and then 415 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go to the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting on the hood, you guys can see we got the cool Wildtrak decal, and just like every other new generation Bronco, the mirrors are actually attached to the body rather than the doors, which just kind of a distinction. And then popping down below, you guys can see these signature LED lights come with the Bronco. You got the white Bronco lettering with the bar that pops up, which is pretty cool. And then you guys can see pretty rugged looking bumper there. Parking sensors integrated onto the front end. And if you're wondering, yeah, that bumper could definitely take a hit. And then we do have skid plate protection underneath. And putting it all together, the Bronco just has such a cool, rugged appearance. Now, coming around the side here, we've got 35s wrapped around 17-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. These are standard with the Wildtrak package because the Wildtrak comes standard with the Sasquatch package. The wheels are beadlock capable and they look pretty cool. Now, first off, the new Ford Bronco has independent front suspension, which is a big thing because, well, the Wrangler has a solid front axle. And then here's what you have all been waiting for. No Bill Steins in sight. We have the HOSS suspension. So we got the Fox shocks. As you guys can see, these are the same shocks that go in the new Ranger Raptor. So this is basically like a mini Bronco Raptor. Now everything's kind of covered up here in the rear, but trust me, there are Fox shocks in the rear as well. And then we have a solid rear axle. And then when you put everything together from a side perspective, I mean, those big chunky fender flares, definitely distinctive. I love how like the door handles, the fender flares, and the top all match each other. And another thing with the Wildtrak is, well, it only comes with a hard top because it's supposed to be like a high-speed off-roader, so it's got to be more rigid, you know. Here's our key fob for the Bronco. You guys can see we've got the unlock function, the lock function, remote start, and then we got the Bronco logo there on the back. Now, this does have keyless entry for the rear, which is pretty cool. And yes, it still does have the annoying double compression strut situation that I absolutely despise. But anyways, ooh. Now, this is still really practical when it comes to the storage space in the rear with the four-door. As you can see, tons of storage space. And then, yeah, you got the cool body painted roll cage here, which is another fun feature. And then we got the 12-volt right there. And, well, that's everything for the rear. And then same order, so window, and, well, it's a lot easier to close than it is to open, to be honest. Now you can see the cool lights here with the Bronco Wildtrak, and then you guys can see again the handle went over the Ford logo, and then we got the spare tire here on the back is, you know, a rugged off-roader, and we do have a recovery hook there at the bottom. And putting it all together, the Wildtrak still looks really cool, even though I kind of prefer the Bronco Raptor because, well, I'm a big Raptor fanboy. I still think this is a really, really good looking SUV. Now, definitely an interesting color combination choice, to say the least, but I still actually think this looks cool. So you got the tan here on the door panel, and then you guys can see a little storage net down below. And then, yes, that does continue onto the seats. So you got these two-tone seats with the black and the tan. Now, legroom here in the back is actually really solid. You got this little storage pocket right here. Window controls in the center with the charging ports. And then we do have stadium seating here in the back, which is fun. And if you're wondering, headroom's also solid. And look at this, cup holder armrest. Now, with the front door panel, you guys can see again, you've got that tan trim, you got your door lock and unlock. The mirrors do have blind spot monitoring, and then you got more netting there. And then you guys can see here with the seats, notice the Bronco logo right there. And again, that cool two-tone design, and the seats are power adjustable. Got your hood latch release right there, parking brake, and then you guys can see the light controls right here. And look at the blue, that's cool. So here is the steering wheel in the Wildtrak. Really nice leather trim all around. Of course, got the Bronco horse in the center. Some controls for the center stack, voice command controls. We do have adaptive cruise control as well. And then, of course, we have our turn signal windshield wiper stock. Now we have the gauge cluster here. You guys can see the little analog dial there for the speedometer off to the side. And then you've got this big digital screen here in the center, which you can see a bunch of different bits of info. Now the cool thing is when you go through the GOAT modes, so we've got quite a few. Now big things here, sport, right? If you want to have some fun sporty driving on road. And then we also have a Baja mode, because again, this is supposed to be the high-speed off-roader Bronco that's not a Raptor. Now this Bronco has the full 360 camera system, as you can see. So you can see out of, you know, pretty much every single angle with it, which is really cool. And the screen doesn't want to pick up my fingers because my fingers are so cold. Yeah, not responding. But anyways, yeah, you can also pop on the camera with another button as well. And like that's your front view. So yeah, good. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, you guys can see the shortcut bar here at the bottom. Then you got the auxiliary screen there off to the side. And then if we go over to features, this is where we got some cool stuff right here. So you guys can see like with the driving assistance and everything. And yeah, I guess it's 28 degrees outside. Didn't even realize. Now up top, you guys can see we have front and rear lockers here with the Wildtrak, trail turn assist, stability control, hazard lights, no stabilizer bar disconnect. That's the big difference between the Wildtrak and obviously something like the Badlands. Now we do have our analog controls here for the radio, climate controls as well. So dual zone climate with heated seats and a heated steering wheel. Got some USB action happening, wireless phone charging pad as well. We've got our shifter for that 10-speed automatic transmission, plus and minus to shift the gears yourself. And that's what that M is for, right? The manual mode. Couple cup holders right here. Drive line select, so it has 2-wheel high, 4-wheel low, 4-wheel auto, and 4-wheel high. That's your basically off-road cruise control, and then you twist it for the drive mode select. And then your mirror adjustments are here on the side, window controls as well, all in the center. And speaking of center, you can see really nice center console, tons of storage space, got some nice padding there on the top, and then you get the Bronco logo across, and yeah, nice glove box. Up top, we've got 6 auxiliary switches if you want to add different items to this. And then again, with the hard top, you can just take off the front with the latches just like a Jeep Wrangler. The back you do have to use tools for. And then the top is insulated, which is nice. So there's tons of glare, so it's very hard to see the window sticker. But something that I find very interesting is, so first off, this is a 354A equipment group. There is nothing that says this has Fox shocks on the window sticker whatsoever. So I find that part strange. But anyways, the total MSRP is $63,035. So I guess that if you want to find out if one of these has Fox shocks, you literally just have to climb underneath. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, and maybe I should clear off the window so you guys can see better. Both the mirrors just gonna do have blind spot monitoring, then throughout the rest of the rear, and let's set off. Okay, so I have been waiting for this moment for months, because what I've been saying for a long time is, as cool as Raptors are, and I obviously own a Raptor personally, I think that this Bronco might be the like Ford off-road sweet spot, because it has the, you know, quote unquote narrow body Bronco build, right? It's not the Bronco Raptor where it's extremely wide, just like an F-150, but it still has Fox shocks. Now the Bilstein shocks that come on the Wildtrak, normally they're not horrible by any means, but they're not all that great for on-road comfort, because they're just really busy, right? You constantly feel like little jitters and everything on the road. Whereas Fox, with their shocks, they tend to not do that nearly as much. And so I'll be excited to see how that feels. And then obviously, you know, these are, you know, a little bit more hardcore than those Bilstein position sensitive shocks. And so what that means is, you know, the absorption overall should just be better. So then you should be able to do more hardcore off-roading. Now this does not have the travel of a Raptor. So obviously, you know, I mean, people are probably going to jump these, right? You can. I've seen people jump Broncos, but you know, it's not the insane Baja rig that a Raptor is when it comes to wheel travel. But what I can tell you right now, right off the bat, you don't get the busyness. Yeah, and going over, let's see what the tire pressure is set at. If I can find that. Column screen. I gotta remember the Bronco menus. It's been quite some time since I've reviewed one of these. Okay, so it's in the 40s, so the tire pressure is a little bit high. So that's kind of where some of that harshness came from. Oh, this handle's way different. Holy crap. Yeah, it's crazy how much shocks can change a vehicle. So like, with the Bilstein shocks, it's definitely a little bit tighter around corners and everything. But with these Fox shocks, in normal Fox shock manner, right, they're a little bit looser. Like, the thing I always say is Bilsteins seem to stay stiff all the time, whereas Fox shocks are kind of constantly doing this. So that's why they just always typically feel a little bit more comfortable. And I am feeling that in the ride quality. This is definitely more comfortable than a Bronco that has the Bilsteins. Okay, so we are in a 4-wheel auto, if you guys are wondering. Just gonna get on it a little bit here. Yeah, I love this engine. It's peppy, that's for sure. And that was partial throttle. That wasn't anywhere near full throttle. I forgot how much wind noise the Bronco has. It's a pretty loud vehicle, that's for sure. Yeah, I really like the absorption with these shocks. This is such a fundamental change for this vehicle. Yeah, it does handle a lot different. This definitely drives more, it kind of reminds me of like a Gen 2 Raptor without live valve. It kind of has that looseness that the Gen 2 has. But again, you got the squishiness, so I think that's good as well. Now, other stuff with the Bronco, if you guys are wondering, seats are actually really comfortable with the Bronco. That's one of the highlights. Now, the most comfortable seats are in the Raptor. That's just kind of how things go. Makes sense, it's a much more expensive vehicle. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see. Yeah, it's so crazy. This is such a different driving experience. The biggest thing though is like, yeah, when I go over bumps, it just doesn't have the same stiff, harsh feel that you get with the Bilsteins. But it doesn't handle as well, that's for sure. Yeah, the handling is just not quite there. So, summing things up with these HOSS shocks, I think it's just going to depend on, you know, what you're going to be using the Bronco for and the driving that you like to do. If you're going to be doing, you know, quite a bit of off-roading, yeah, I would get these. These are way better. Oh yeah, holy crap, that's the big thing. Over like bumps like that, again, with, you know, those Bilstein position sensitive shocks, they just don't have the same level of absorption as these do. These Fox shocks are significantly better. But yeah, they're gonna just, the off-roading, it's gonna feel a lot more comfortable. This is just gonna be able to handle better with off-road conditions. Like, everything's gonna be a little bit better from that front. And then it is a little bit more comfortable with on-road ride quality as well. And so I think it's worth it. And I think that this is, frankly, even though this is not called a Raptor, I think this is the most affordable way to get into a, you know, quote unquote Raptor like vehicle, because the new Bronco is already pretty good at high-speed off-roading. This with these shocks is going to be so much better. And so yeah, if you don't want to spend, you know, because Bronco Raptors, right, it's, you know, the MSRP is already like in the $80,000 range for most of the builds, and then same thing with the F-150 Raptor, and then they're going for $10,000-$20,000 over MSRP, whereas these, you can easily get these at MSRP and $63,000 MSRP at that, with this particular one. So yeah, I think that if you want the Raptor experience and you don't want to pay the Raptor price, this actually provides that. It's well, I shouldn't say it provides that. It's 90% of the way there. That extra 10% is the, you know, the tires you get with the Raptor. More specifically, because the tires are a little bit different, because, you know, with the Bronco and with the Gen 3 you can get 37s, which you could put 37s on this. But yeah, the extra wheel travel you get, and then the live valve shocks definitely are better than these shocks, but these are better than the Bilstein shocks. So this is kind of like if they built the Bronco during the Gen 2 production time period, this is kind of what that, it's kind of like a Gen 2 Bronco Raptor. I hope that makes sense. I really do. That's gonna sum things up with our video on this Bronco Wildtrak with the HOSS suspension. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Ford Lincoln here in Provo for giving me some time with this Bronco. Check out the intro in the description down below. Ask for John Jenks if you have any questions. I'll see ya.